Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Barb, and if you're new here, welcome, and welcome back to Get Vulnerable with me. So for this week's segment, I am going to be completely and super vulnerable with you guys because honestly, I was going through it. The last couple of weeks, and you would never know because I always say this. Social media, you only see what we want you to see. But behind closed doors, there's always so much more going on, and you only know what you think you know. So, intrusive thoughts. We all get them. We all go through it. Just some of us maybe have it a little bit worse than others, but I know you guys all know what I'm talking about. Those thoughts that have no business taking up real estate in your brain when you're just trying to have a normal day, and all of a sudden you think about all these irrational things that would probably never happen, but something reminds you of a scenario maybe, or something you saw once in a movie, and you're like, what if that were to happen? And if I'm not making any sense, for example, have you guys seen that movie, Final Destination? So essentially there's this movie or there's a bunch of them, but the one I'm thinking of, there's a bunch of kids or teenagers, whatever, young adults that are on a plane, and the plane just combusts in the sky. Something happens, the wing falls off, or the doors fall off, or something, and everyone dies. And the main character kind of like wakes up out of it and thinks it's just a nightmare. But then all these really crazy sequence of events start to happen around him, and the people that were on the plane, or his friends, or the group, the main characters, they all start to die in the order that they would have died had they been on that plane. And he starts catching on, and he's like, we gotta break the cycle of the things that are happening to our friends, blah, 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 whatever. An example of an intrusive thought would be when you get on a plane, if you see that movie, you start freaking out because you're like, what if that thing that happened in Final Destination happens to me and the wings fall off my plane or something? And you start freaking out, and you start putting yourself in this place of just fear and anxiety and stress, when realistically, that's probably not gonna happen, right? I'm not saying it can't. I'm not an airplane expert over here, but so these intrusive thoughts are just these thoughts that come peeking in when you're having a normal experience, and something may remind you of some other traumatic event that you may have seen, experienced, or heard of. So hopefully now that all made sense. I know that was kind of a crazy example, but these are the thoughts I'm talking about, and these are the things I was struggling with. And specifically, my firstborn, my son Zeus, my dog, it was his birthday a week ago, and I just looked at him and I was like, what would I do without you in my life? You are literally the best thing that's ever happened to me. If you know me, you know how in love I am with my dogs. I have two, but Zeus has a special place in my heart because he was my first. So I started going through it. I literally just could not get out of bed with him. I started crying. I started freaking out. Like, what am I going to do? One day he's not going to be here. And then that thought started happening with people I love around me, my family, my friends. And I started just like, and I'm so sorry if this makes you think about that, but I'm getting vulnerable, y'all. This is about my experience, but there's going to be a good ending to this, I promise. Just hang tight. So anyways, I was all up in my feels. So that lasted for like days, then a week, then 2 weeks, and here we are. I have moved past that, which is why I wanted to share my experience, because whenever it comes to having these thoughts, I'm really big on acknowledging that all my feelings are valid. It's always okay to go through these motions. Life obviously isn't linear, but I'm very, very heavy on getting out of my head and into my body. Moments like that, getting out of that funk you're going through and just moving your body, releasing serotonin, just feeling good, is always super healing to me. But that still wasn't working. So I was like, what the hell? Like, what is going on? Why can't I just shake this feeling? Because it is a very heavy emotion, and it's hard to work. It's hard to do things. It's hard to want to wake up every day when you're going through these motions, because it's things that are completely out of your control. So I talked to several people. I reached out for support in several different ways, just trying to get myself out of this, because clearly I wasn't able to help myself in this situation. And sometimes it's okay to ask for help. It's something I'm trying to overcome as well. It's very hard for me to want to bother people with my problems, because I acknowledge we all have problems. So it's almost like, why would I add on to your plate? But I'm learning that it's okay to ask for help. Again, being totally vulnerable with you guys. This is something I've struggled with for a long time. And I got probably one of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten in my life. And this was something that immediately snapped me back. So if you're someone who struggles with any kind of thoughts similar, close to, even 1% like I did recently, maybe this will help. Let me grab my phone. So this is one of my friends who reached out to me and shared this with me. And like I said, it's almost like a spell came over me and just snapped me out of it. Here's a few things that helped me, and maybe they can help you too. 1, I made peace with the fact that I'm human and intrusive thoughts and days and feeling bad or sad are part of the human experience. They exist to remind me of how important things are to me and how much I care about them. My job is to feel them, look for what's triggering them, then act or not act based on what I just learned about myself. Number 2, I shifted from living to fulfill outcomes and instead decided to live to honor. The tweak makes the reward how I showed up in my interactions versus the outcome of those interactions. There will always be more to do, to get, to make, so quote unquote enough will never come by chasing outcomes, no matter how good they may be. 3, I remind myself often that Jesus is the savior and not me. So when I get anxious feeling that I have to do more or else, I remember that my role is to do my best and be open to however God may lead me to help someone else, not to be God to some. Mic drop. No, but seriously, the reason that hit me so intensely is because I should have mentioned this earlier on, but it just felt right to read that right away after having all these extreme things I was saying. But when it comes to the fear of losing people I care about and love, I drive myself insane, working nonstop, trying to do as much as I can, almost like, what can I do to do as much as I can, to be as much as I can be to the people I love so they can have a peaceful life, a life with love, light, happiness. And I drive myself crazy. I drive myself through the ground to be able to help everyone around me as much as I can. I don't know what it is in me that feels the need to just go, do, but I don't even know that I realize I'm doing it. But I read that and it almost was wow, it's true. We really do have to show ourselves grace and almost have this perspective switch. All that to say, I was stuck in this funk for a very, very long time. 2 weeks doesn't sound like a long time for these kind of thoughts, I guess, or just things coming in and out of your brain. It affected my work, my livelihood, my routine, my interactions, everything around me. It was crippling. It was really crippling. And I tried recording this video actually when it was happening and I couldn't. I literally couldn't. I couldn't talk. Every time I would try to talk about it, I would just break down crying. Yeah, this was a big thing that I felt a lot of people probably deal with. And I realized, you know what? The reason I made these Get Vulnerables with me is to be able to share the things that I go through because we all go through it to some extent. It's okay not to be okay. We're in this together, you guys. So I hope this relates and resonates with some of you guys out there. As always, thank you so much for watching. And if you guys have any suggestions for me for next week, please let me know, message me, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. I was just talking about you.